Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Myth. So, Tarek and Entertaining Series, is that an analog in your pocket? Are you just happy to see me? And today we're taking a look at the new Konami Jailbreak Core on the arcade side of things. This is from Roland King, and this is a 1986 Konami release. It's a classic 2.5D run-and-gun game where you get a lot of fun movement in the screen space, but it's so much fun to see some more vintage Konami stuff coming over to the Analogue Pocket side of things. Maybe you were alive when this game came out, maybe you weren't. Leave me a comment down below and let me know. Before we get too far involved, I'm going to do me a huge favor. Go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But this is an absolute classic arcade game, but I'm here to warn you right off the top, it is hard as nails, and you're going to have to get very good very quick to actually see the credits scroll. Now this has to come down on Pocket Updater or any other Pocket Updater that you choose. There's more than one. I always just basically run Update All just to make sure I have the newest stuff. But if you run Pocket Updater and just hit Update All, this core along with all the other associated files will come down and it'll pop up in your OpenFPGA folder, which I'll just show you in a moment. But just getting into the game, this is just one of those classic titles that I remember seeing in arcades in the early 90s, but I did grow up in Vermont, so it's not like we got the most recent stuff all the time. My local arcade, the Dream Machine, had one of these cabinets in like the back left hand corner for like a year or so, and I remember playing it, having a ton of fun, even though when it came out I could not walk whatsoever. If we go into OpenFPGA and under the arcade side, this is where you're going to find the core. It's just going to be under Jailbreak. It's not a multi or anything else like that. You'll see a 2 on mine because I installed this manually before the updater brought it down. And you'll see here, if you take a look at the top right hand corner of the screen, there's going to be 2 badges up there. All of the settings for this game's PCB are going to be in the menu. There really isn't any test menu to speak of. This was more of a dip switch setting board back in the day because not everything actually used a test menu. But as we get into the game, you're going to see just what this offers. It's classic 2D run and gun fun, but you will see there I take my first death, and this game is always going to kick you back to either the beginning of the level or to some checkpoint you don't know you've hit yet. If we go into the core settings, this is where all of the different settings for the game are going to be changed. You can increase your lives, you can increase or decrease the difficulty, and I definitely recommend, if you're new to this game, giving yourself 5 lives, making sure the bonus is set to 30 and 70k for extra lives, and I would probably dial down the difficulty to easy in all honesty, because hard and hardest, you have to be almost perfect to be able to do this. You can also put the demo sounds on. I do like that. But this core has a little bit of a quirk that you need to work around in. If you just go back into the game, none of these dip switch settings are going to adhere. So you would think if you go into core settings and load the game, maybe that's what would make them actually work. If you do that after you make any changes, you reload the game, you're going to get basically nothing happening whatsoever. This hash screen right here, just checking the monitor, will get stuck on. What you need to do after you change all of your settings, you actually need to quit the core and then relaunch it. I'm not sure, this is still sort of like a work in progress, but you can't make any changes and reload or reset the game. You have to quit back out to the Pocket's main menu and then reload it from the OpenFPGA menu. And now that we're back in the game, if we hit start or take a look at the top right hand corner of the screen, we now have a full 5 life accoutrement up there. This is going to make a very big difference when you actually play the game. This again is hard as nails, it pulls no punches, it wants to steal your quarters, mug you in an alley and leave you for dead. But this is just a blast, and be aware that all of the victims, the hostages in the game that are running around, do not shoot them, touch them, because they're going to give you some awesome power-up weapons, and later in the game those powered-up weapons are going to be the difference between you surviving or you taking another L and putting it up on the board. But this is one of those games, maybe if you weren't around back in the day, maybe if you don't have nostalgia for it, maybe it might be too hard, but tell me again down below what you think of the difficulty if you've played this. I will say that the game can be a slight bit buggy, but it can be buggy on original arcade hardware as well, just not in ways that I've actually seen here. And if you're wondering why you're not getting any music in the background when you're playing this game, that's just because you don't really have music. And you'll see there, somehow I ended up at the top of the stage. That's definitely not supposed to happen. But here's what the game should sound like on Pocket.
I'm over here.
You're in danger.
definitely not going to win any awards anytime soon as far as best Konami soundtracks are concerned, but not every single game from the early to the mid 80s actually had a full soundtrack. ROMs were expensive and sometimes you would just get sound effects, but you do get a nice digitized speech in there, which kind of shows off some of the power of the hardware for 1986. Now, as we get onto the second level, this game is just going to get that much harder, but it seems to be a little bit less buggy than the first level, being able to actually get on top of the screen and basically screen wrap yourself into a dangerous spot. And this game can do some very fun things as well. There's definitely some hidden charm in here and some things that are basically randomly going to be seen. I'll show you what they are in just a moment. But it's so much fun to get another awesome arcade core on Analogue Pocket, especially from someone whose name you don't really see pop up. Roland King is not someone synonymous with Analogue Pocket development, but it is here and he has made this. And you'll see there again, I did get a little bit of a bug that kicked me to the bottom of the screen, so hopefully this comes to some updates soon. It is definitely 100% playable. It can just be ever so slightly glitchy, but watch very closely right here what you're going to see. Blink and you miss it moment for sure. That in fact was Batman. You were not mistaken. This game has some really funny hidden things in it that are basically up for like 8 frames and then they disappear. If you shoot those barrels with a bazooka, every once in a while Batman will appear and he will give you a 5,000 point bonus. And don't forget, at 30,000 points you get another life, so you definitely want to be trying to find Batman in the game. It is rare. Additionally, if you shoot some of the bad guys that are in the buildings, every once in a while they turn into a woman with very little clothing on. Just a little bit of Konami sense of humor there. But again, this is just a fun game. Sure, it's not the most graphically impressive thing, because it was made in 1986, but the challenge here is really where it's at. This is basically about as difficult as arcade games got back in the day, and it makes you learn and makes you get better much quicker. I love the power-up system, I love those mid-80s graphics, but the gameplay is really where it's at for me. I love a running gun game. Something like Mercs from Capcom comes to mind, but they existed long before this, and there's so many other awesome running gun games that could come over to Analogue Pocket. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what the one running gun you would love to see on Pocket is, and maybe your favorite one as well. But again, you just need to get so good at this game so quickly, but that's where the fun in this lies. You can beat this game in like 12 minutes or less if you get good at it, but it might take you absolute hours to get there. But this is an old school arcade game, so I'm going to warn you one thing about it that's going to drive you nuts. You're going to see there, I took that death and it's going to put me back ever so slightly. That's not that big of a deal, but we are now down to having 0 lives, and the minute you lose a life or you shoot a civilian, you also lose all of your power-ups. The game is now over. We do have credits in the system. Wouldn't it be great if we could continue? And that is not how this game works. You're going to go back to the beginning of the first stage. You need to beat this game on 1 credit and 1 credit alone. Some games back in the day just did not allow continues, or only some specific ROM variants of them did. But as far as Jailbreak is concerned, it is one and done. You get 5 lives, and if you don't see the end of the credits, you're going to be starting all over again. And of course, excuse the dust that's always on my stuff in the house. It just seems to be the way it is with radiator heat. It's also awesome to play handheld. This is the type of game that's perfect for trains, just traveling around in the city trying to get to work. You pick it up, you die a few times, you get frustrated, you think maybe the Analogue Pocket would make a good frisbee that would never come back, and then you put another coin in and you start the game all over again. But yeah, if you haven't checked Jailbreak out yet, update your pockets, it's here today. Give it a go and enjoy it. Sure that the next time a fun game comes out, I'll do a video, but I'll see you next time. Bye bye.